Hello.
Hello
Hey.
there.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Devine. Hey, everybody else.
Hey,
Hello.
everyone else.
Juan, Steve,
Everybody's coming in. Yay.
There's Hank. Yeah.
and
Hello.
James, and Hank.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Devine. Hey, everybody else. Some of you I know. Steve,
Everybody's coming in. Yay.
There's Hank. Yeah.
and James, and Hank.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Devine. Hey, everybody else. Some of you I know. Steve,
Everybody's coming. Let's see. Oh, here's Sebastian. I think that might be all of us. Well, thank you all for being here. And so we're taking advantage of the ability to expand our radio waves far beyond our 100 watts in downtown Asheville. And one of the ways that we can do it is with uploading to AUDIOPORT, which is what today's meeting is about. So let me do a little explaining first. AUDIOPORT carries, is a kind of like a repository for shows that people do, and then other community stations go and grab those files and they play them on their radio. So you want your show to be what's called evergreen. And evergreen means that you're not limiting it to a day or a time. You can say at the beginning when you start up, you're, for example, you're listening on, hello, this is WPVM 1037 in Asheville, North Carolina, just a legal ID. And you're listening to Jazz on a Summer's Day, coming to you from Asheville. You do want to say that you're on WPVM. You do want to give a station ID, and you do want to push your show being where it's coming from from Asheville. And when other people pick up your show, you want to be able to say the show is also carried in, for example, WHYR in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at whatever their call number or call letters are. So, what, Hank? You're muted. You're muted. We're not hearing you. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, Devine. Can you hear me?
I think Hank's not hearing us.
Yeah,
Check
I'm not
your,
sure.
let me send him a note.
What's up, Nave?
Hey, Sebastian, how you doing, man?
Good.
I'm up in Taos, New Mexico.
All right.
It's not even a metaphor. It's 7,500 feet above sea level, so it's really up.
I see the sweater. It might be a little cold.
It's chilly. Yeah, I'm happy with my sweater on. This is the big, thick wool sweater from Italy.
It's cold this mornings here too.
Yeah, it's October, so seasons moving on. We had little snow out here a couple of weeks ago, but once it gets out, it's never hot out here. It's always cool because it's so high up. But come November there'll be snow on the mountains, and by December it'll be minus 20 degrees some days.
Hey, Russ, can you hear us?
Hank's still working on his audio.
Devine, can you hear me?
Was that Eddie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want y'all to ask questions during this because it helps everyone.
I have a question.
Yes.
I often will play a song or two before I step in and say, the ID. Do you think it's better in this mode to always start at the very beginning and say what you said, or no?
No, just, do your show. Just remember, somewhere in there, give a station ID. If it simplifies it so that you don't have to do it, I can always program that official station ID that the FCC requires at the top of the hour, so that after that plays, then you jump in and start doing your show. And then somewhere in there mention that you're coming from Asheville from WPVM.
Yeah.
And most of the shows, if y'all have been listening to the shows, you've heard some of the shows that I'm getting piped in from Pacifica. And some of them will only mention that they're playing on other stations maybe one time. But other ones will mention that they're coming to you from wherever they are, and then mention
I can't
again.
hear you right now.
We can hear you now.
So other ones will do it about every 10 minutes, because some people who do music, they don't necessarily get into the history of it. They'll just play 5 or 6 songs, or 3 or 4 songs, or 5 songs, and then they'll do a station break and mention that they're coming from wherever, and that the show is also carried on whatever other stations they want to mention at the time. And so that's how it goes. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You don't have to be with community radio. We don't have to be strictly anything except for that one ID at the top of the hour, the official ID at the top of the hour. So any of you who are feeling like, I'd rather the station do that official ID, let me know, and I'll program it in.
So I have a question.
Somebody's got some static going.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too.
It's gone now.
Well, I muted Hank because it started when he.
I don't know if the static's coming from me, is it?
Yeah,
It's not coming from me, is it?
it's coming from Hank.
Oh, okay. Can everyone see me? Because this is my first Zoom. This is my first Zoom meeting, so I'm new to all this.
We see your picture.
Okay.
Go down to the left part of your screen. You'll see 2 little icons. One will say mute and the other one will say video. So it'll say stop and start video. So if you click start video, and you'll see it. Russ.
Russ, it might have been you being staticky.
I don't think it was me, because I was still hearing the static when I was muted.
All right, so
Somebody is staticky.
somebody's very staticky. All right, so I've got everybody muted but me and Russ. Hey, Russ, we see you now. So I'm going to share my screen and pull up Pacifica's AUDIOPORT. And what you're going to key in is audioport.org. And then all of you that are on here today, I'm going to send them, I'm going to add you all to our particular station. And then Pacifica is going to send you all login credentials.
So what you're going to do right now is show us what we would do with our login credentials, except it's going to
Exactly.
be your login credentials. Okay.
Yeah, so are y'all seeing this picture now of AUDIOPORT? Okay. All right, so this is AUDIOPORT, and you can see right up here, audioport.org. And then you can look at the different programming that's available. You can do a lot of shopping around and do some comparison. So I'm going to log in here on this right-hand side.
Where did you open, Naveen? I didn't see where your cursor was.
On the right-hand side there, see that blue?
Okay, I see that. Which part did you click on?
Right here where it says login in red.
Okay, I see it now. Thank you.
So that's where you're going to go. And then you're going to key in your credentials.
Is that something you're going to provide to us that will?
So I'll add you all as users, and then Pacifica will send you all your login credentials.
Okay.
And so give them a couple of days. Sometimes they're a little slow, and sometimes I've had people wait a week, but I'm in touch with them now pretty regularly, so I can prompt them to be a little more efficient.
And so this port is only for people who are associated with radio stations. Is that correct?
Well, some independents add programmings to here that are not associated with radio stations. So, if you know somebody who's got a great program and they're not doing radio, but they've got a good program, they'll add it because there's quite a few on here that are independents. So add programming or go to the workroom. Now, I have not uploaded any, so I'm not quite up to exactly how this works, but I think between all of us, we can figure it out together. I think it might be more add programming. So, all right, so yeah, so you go to add programming, and then they give you some great instructions here on how to do it. You're going to want to have your audio be best quality or highest quality MP3.
Is everybody using the Zoom format to record or produce their show?
Well, Hank is, and Dawn is, and Russ is doing live. Nave has been recording with his own equipment, and I think Nave recently started using a platform like Zoom or some other one.
I started using Zoom to record, although I still, if I get a chance to record live, I do have a piece of equipment that I can record live on, which makes it a little more immediate. But I do like Zoom because there's an intimacy to it.
All right, so it's going to give you these examples, these guidelines on how to upload. And as I said, they want you to upload MP3 files only, and bit rate of, well, they say 64 at 128. And so when you all do a live show like Russ does, our system automatically records that, and it goes to on our website. The next day, somebody can pick it up as an archive. Well, that's 128 kbps for stereo. So that's kind of the standard quality for audio to go to out on the radio for us and for the other stations. So our system, if you do a show here or you send a show to us, we want to keep that 128.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So say I do a show and the next day it's archived. So maybe the next day, if I'm being really efficient, I want to take that file and send it to them through this portal with these instructions. And I think I remember how to do that. Is that basically right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So, so it's got the instructions on doing it right here where you're going to add programming. I do have some pointers to help you be successful with this. Let's go back to some regular shows that are out there. So let's just look at the weekly programs. And so so this is to help you get listeners or get stations to pick you up. And this is what I look for, and I'm guessing that other stations look for this too. You want to be consistent. You want to, if you have a weekly show, be consistent about uploading that weekly show. You can have a monthly show or a weekly show. They break it down in different ways. You can have a half-hour show, an hour or 2-hour show, or whatever. But you need to be consistent, and you want to write a killer description of your show. And we all have some great shows. This is one of the reasons that I contacted you in the first place. All of your shows are excellent, and you do yourself proud by what you're doing. And so your content and the quality of your shows is great. And you want to enhance that whenever you go to make a description of your show. Like now, right now, we carry this particular show, WHYR Down the Road. And you can see that he's written a nice summary. He's written some notes about what the show is about. He's given a playlist. And if you go back and look at his show, you see all those shows there. It's 289 shows or 289 files. That means he's consistent. That means he's serious about what he's doing. And from a station manager perspective, I don't want to set up a show. I don't want to try out a show and have that show not be consistent. So I'm sure that that's the way other people feel too, whenever they're getting ready to add a new show to their lineup on their schedule, because of all the work that goes into adding a new show.
Daveen,
Yeah.
This is very impressive what he's doing. Could one of us like go back and kind of backfill and start by, I've done like 33 shows, so go back and put them all in if I had the
Yes.
wherewithal?
I'm pretty sure you can.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So-
what's great about it is this is another repository of your files.
Yes.
Yeah. Daveen, I'm noticing here on this show Down the Road, the length is 27:53, 27:54. There's one that's 30:36, one that's another 30:36. So in terms of uploading these files, this looks like it's a half an hour show.
It's a 2-hour show. And so these are part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4.
Oh, I see. So the shows that we upload, like my show's an hour. So we have to make sure that it lands right at the 5 seconds before the end. I guess the question is, you start at the top of the hour, but when you're at the end of it, how accurate does it have to go to the 60 minutes? What I do is just put some music in to take it to the top.
Yeah, and that's your filler. That's kind of like your buffer zone.
Okay.
So that's what I recommend, because it takes a little bit of the pressure off of you having to stop right on the second.
So really then have a show that's 55 minutes long or whatever, or 53, and then buffer it with some
Yeah, and
music.
some of the ones that come into me, they might stop 4 or 5 minutes early. And then what happens with us is our automation automatically, if our automation senses silent, it will start playing music, pulling music from our library.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not a terribly big deal if you're not just right on the absolute time mark.
Okay, but it's good to be below it, not behind,
Yeah,
shorter
better to
than
be
longer.
below it, definitely.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, okay.
Would you then say that, say, 59 minutes and 45 seconds is a good time for an hour show?
Between 30 and 45 seconds.
So 59:30, 59:45. Thanks.
Good.
So I have a question. These are broken up into half. He's got a 2-hour show. I'm presuming it's a man. Maybe I shouldn't presume.
Yeah,
And
he is. Yeah.
he's chopped it up into 4 programs. Is that because that's what he wants to do? Or is it because AUDIOPORT requires
No,
the
that's just what
limit?
he wants to do.
So I'm going to be doing an hour show, but I'm going to be doing it similar to the way Hank does it, where I have 2 guests, and essentially I have 2 30-minute or so segments. Is it better to upload it as 2 different shows, since there's 2 different guests and kind of 2 different topics?
Not necessarily at all. If you've got 2 guests and you've got a 59.30 minute audio file, it's not going to matter if in the middle of that file you switch to a different interviewee.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, the overarching theme of all the shows I do is going to be pretty consistent. It's not like I'm talking about New Orleans jazz one week and then, Italian food the next week, and how to build a lawn chair out of aluminum the next week. It's all going to be around a certain theme.
Conversely, I talk about all of those.
I can't wait to hear your show, James.
It meanders all over the map.
Okay, so a coverage show should be regular and consistent. And if you do have to replay a show for whatever reason, just make sure you only do it like one time. If you find, you're going to have to go take care of your mother for a month, try to somehow upload different shows. Don't just let one show play for the whole time you're gone. So then you can make your decision about, is it going to be a weekly show or a monthly show or whatever, and AUDIOPORT will accommodate that, and people will pick it up that can use that kind of time frame. I did mention station ID, and okay, so Russ, how do you feel? I can see you down there. Do you have any questions?
Russ is muted.
Sorry.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah. How does it look to you? Do you think you can handle this?
Yeah, I think so. The only question I have, and I may be repeating what someone has already asked, is with my show, especially at the end, what I try to do is play one last song and say my good nights, and then let the record play out, up to the hour. I try to do that. I'm going to try to do it more consistently. and not say my goodnights at 30 seconds before the hour, but with saying my goodnights early and then just letting the music play out, is that going to be sufficient?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Really, I think everything else is going to be okay. Just learning how to upload this stuff, into the new system here.
And so I think we've got somebody that does that gospel show, and so I think Russ is who does the gospel show. And if we have to, we can call on him to help us do a little Zoom meeting. And but I don't think it's going to be that much different. Those of you who are already uploading to Dropbox, basically, I think it's the same kind of procedure.
Yeah. Russ,
Okay.
can you mute?
Yeah,
unless
Russ
you
is
wanna
definitely.
speak? Thank you.
Russ is where the static is coming from.
Yeah, he's a staticky guy. I can say that to Russ.
I can too.
He knows I love him.
Yes.
Davina, I had a question.
Yeah.
Okay, how many characters or how much space do we have to do this killer description of our shows?
Well, I haven't really checked on that for sure, but I would say go open up some of these shows, because I think you can go look at them without.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
look at this one.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty.
Yeah, that's more than enough room.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's doing a killer description of each show, is what you're saying. So if I have a guest on, then I give a description of the guest and where they're coming from, what they're up to.
We'll see on this window here, featured speakers and guests. So you could do your guest description there. The summary of your show, 5 miles radio conversations worth having, and just build yourself up about how great your show is in that summary window right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's plenty of obviously there's plenty of room here. You do want to use all of these windows up here to help send anyone at all who is interested to do. Let me find one, because this guy doesn't show his emails. You want to direct them, if possible, to your own website or your own self-promotion page. You're free to do that when you send them to go learn more about your program, your person, your guest, or whatever.
Now, this does not appear to be connected to social media. This is only for producers who want to air it.
Yeah, but you could have somewhere in here a link to your social media page.
Okay.
I don't see some people doing it but I know whenever I put in a new show, if they've got a website, if they've got a website and their emails and that sort of thing, I put all of that stuff in on the page that is designated for that show. And so you want to try to use these different ways to have people be able to get in touch with you, learn more about you, learn more about if you've got a business going, learn more about your business. I do want to stress that we're happy to be able to do this to help you all, especially in this time of pandemic. We encourage that this will help you in a roundabout way, not on the radio per se, where you're promoting a product or selling something, but we want for this to be able to help you do your livelihood elsewhere, if possible.
Well, what happens is if people like the show, then they're curious about you and they go look at your site and then whatever you have. But
Yeah,
in terms of social media, this is not something that's shared on the social media. This is just producers find it. So any social media links I put on this would be for the producers to use to advertise the show or whatever within their circle. And then it would be picked up on social media by way of their networks or by way of their station.
Well, I know a lot of the shows that I have added, and I spent the summer adding a bunch of new shows. I would, some of them have a website and those. So once you have that website included in here, then you're free to give them all the information that you can possibly give them. So I'm not seeing it on the ones that I've been clicking on, but I know some of them do have it.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be able to cross promote yourself.
I got another question, Davine, please. So if we're promoting on social media our programs, we're still directing them to dial in either to 103.7 or to go to WPVMFM.org, correct? To listen into the shows?
Well, when you're sending these out, you're saying that this is the Empowered Whistleblower coming to you from Asheville, North Carolina, WPVM 103.7. And say 2 months from now you get picked up by other people. And we're also heard on so-and-so, WW's whatever in Richmond, Virginia, and so-and-so and wherever how many stations have picked you up, you would add them after you do yours. And then towards the end of the show, try to do another, say goodbye from Asheville. This is Dawn Westmoreland with Empowered Whistleblower and coming to you out of Asheville, North Carolina on WPVM and elsewhere. So, some people just give a very brief one, and then other people, they give you the full Monty. So it just depends upon how you want to present it. But we definitely do want to be mentioning WPVM anytime you feel comfortable.
So we would have them stream through WPVM to listen to our show still, correct?
No. So this file is going up, and that file is not streaming from WPVM. Your file, you're uploading your file, and they're just taking that file. Like what we do is we download. Let me just go to the top here. So you see where it says RSS? So that right there, that's what I have programmed our system to capture, that URL.
Mm-hmm.
You click on that URL and put it on a browser window and click on it. That's going to play.
All right, thanks.
That audio file is going to play.
So,
Awesome.
Davine, I have a question kind of building a little bit off of what Dawn was saying. So my show's an hour, other people may have a half an hour, but my show's an hour. So I put the show together and I say, welcome to Twice 5 Miles Radio. You're listening on WPVM FM, et cetera. And then go do the show. And then at the end, I say, thank you very much. See you next week. And then my show ends at 59:30. Now, if some other station picks it up, another community radio station, they only have 30 seconds in that 59:30 to start the show by identifying their station and to close the show by identifying their station. So wouldn't it make sense to finish the show at, say, like 58 or something, or 58 and a half, so that the stations would have time to say, identify themselves before your show starts or my show starts? Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but if you listen to our station, you can see that we don't. We'll have a show. We'll have a station ID at the top of the hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then our show will just start playing, and then at the top of it's and maybe it's because we're automated or partially automated that that's not that big of an issue. But if I can get this page to reload, I've been trying to reload this page so that we could go look at the times. You see where I'm highlighting length here?
Yeah.
Okay, so you could go look at the length and kind of get a cross section of how long other shows are, and that would answer your question about what most people are doing.
Yeah, because like if when any of us we upload our shows to your Dropbox, and then you queue the show up to go out on WPVM FM. So when the 10 o'clock hour arrives, my plan when I make my show is that the music starts, and then 6 seconds later I say, "Welcome to Twice 5 Miles Radio," et cetera, et cetera. Now, does my music start exactly at 10 o'clock? And then when I say, "Welcome to Twice 5 Miles, you're listening to WPVM LP," is that the FCC required identification, or do you do an automatic one before the show starts?
That's what I'm saying. I could, if whoever is doing this wants WPVM to just program a top of the hour legal ID, it usually is 11 seconds. Let me know and I'll program it. And so the automation will handle that automatically right at the top of the hour, play it, and then the automation is programmed to start playing your show.
Okay, so if you put the show up on another station, will they then do the automatic 11 seconds, and then my show picks up at 11 seconds in?
I think this is a really good question that you're asking, because I realize it's probably going to be better if you all are using the file that's going to be played on WPVM to not have that legal ID, because that's going to kind of maybe interfere when other people pick up your show. So, the difference between a legal ID and just saying 20 minutes in, "Hey, this show is coming to you from WPVM in Asheville, North Carolina, and is also carried on such and such other stations," that's different and a little less, and it's more informal than if you come right on there in the first 2 or 3 minutes saying, "You're listening to WPVM in Asheville, North Carolina, 103.7 on your dial." Does that make sense? And I think what needs to happen is, if you're going to be uploading to Pacifica using the files that happen when your show is live, and you go capture that file the next day from our archives, then we should be the ones doing the station ID. But I think we need to work together to work this out, just to make sure.
Yeah,
a lot of you are sending your files in, and so instead of doing that specific legal ID at the top of the hour, you're going to be just doing that kind of casual ID somewhere, station ID somewhere in your show.
Well, can I ask two questions? One is that I've got the legal station ID built into my intro where the music is playing. I could redo that if necessary, but that's part of when I start the show. It always starts with that music, which is about 23 seconds, and the legal station ID is included in that in a voiceover. But that's more a statement. My other question is, will we be able to see a list from Pacifica on what stations actually have picked us up, so that if we do want to say something like that, we'd say, we're also on in Tennessee or California?
That's a really good question, because that's what you want to do. When someone picks up your show, ask them to let you know that they've picked up your show and that you will give them a shout out on your show. And that will encourage them to let you know. And the reason that I say that is that we download a lot of shows by using this RSS feed that's right here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you go scroll down the window, you can see you also have an option to download. Well, if I pull a show with an RSS feed, it does not show up on these downloads. And so that producer, that show host doesn't know that I've downloaded that show and am playing that show unless I let them know. So it's only manual downloads that show up on the stats down there in this lower window.
Well, it still sort of drives the question to me is how do you know as a producer or as a show host that someone picked you up?
That's why you want to stress in your descriptions here that they let you know that they're playing your show. And if they let you know, you'll give them a great big shout out from Asheville, North Carolina every time that show plays.
So put it in the summary.
Kind of tempt them a little bit.
So put it in the summary, in other words.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure your description that you stress that you want to know if they're downloading your show because you want to be able to thank them and appreciate the fact that they're carrying your show.
Yeah.
And it also strikes me that if somebody's considering any of our shows on a regular basis, they will study what we have to say in a different way than someone casually just reading an ad when you're trying to sell them a workshop or something.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to stress the quality of your content.
You know, Davine, going back to the whole issue of the station ID, it seems to me that that it would be wise to assume that each station is going to take responsibility for their own legal requirements in terms of the mandatory station ID at the top of the hour. And so, reflecting on that conversation we just had about it, it would seem to me to make a lot of sense to plan for, 11 or 15 seconds or, whatever that number is, and plan that a station picking this up will have done that or will be doing that at the top of the hour.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, we definitely the shows that come in that are an hour or 2 hours, it is programmed to interrupt or start off with a legal ID, and then the automation starts playing that show. And then at 60 minutes, at the top of the next hour, if it's a 2-hour show, we'll have a station ID pop in there that's our legal ID that's programmed to play at the top of the hour.
And another reason, Steve, to do this, and thinking about what you said, I mean, we all go to great lengths to do this out of the love of our hearts, and I don't say that facetiously.
Right.
I mean, it's the truth. And so it would make sense, as you say, to give room for these stations to do whatever they need to do. And we offer a complete show so that we have artistic control over how it begins and how it ends and how it sounds. And that's why I think the more I listen, the more I like the idea of finishing, 3 minutes early and then just putting some sound in. And I mean, sometimes because this we don't need permission really to do any kind of music because all the ASCAP fees are paid by way of the station, unless I do pay attention to my permissions because I have it on SoundCloud, and I can't put anything on SoundCloud I don't have permission to use. So that's something to be careful about. But other than that, just broadcasting like this, it's all permissions. So you could even record something. And if you need a tune, a little jazzy tune or whatever, you can record it over a speaker from iTunes and just drop it in at the end of the sound file, and your permissions will be taken care of.
I'm sure if you asked Hank, he would be happy to record a track, sing and play guitar and make something for you.
Well, you're right about the SoundCloud issue, and we run into the exact same thing when we're live streaming to Facebook. If we're playing like a local live musician playing their music, or even if they're playing a cover song, as long as it's live, we don't get interrupted or muted on Facebook by the copyright police. And this started about 2 years ago, that if their copyright bots heard a commercial piece, they would mute it. And so you're running into the same thing on podcast and SoundCloud and places like that. Whereas we're community radio here. We're all licensed to play these songs, so or to play this music. So you're okay to upload any copyrighted music because we're covered with our license, and these other stations are too.
So we could really upload any kind of music to our shows?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you don't.
You might not be able to live stream it to social media like you've been doing. The difference is if something's going to a radio station, you have a lot more freedom than if you're uploading to a podcast or uploading to social media. Does that make sense?
A few years ago, I don't remember, it's been quite a while now, but I was at a friend's house in New York, and she was a painter, and I did a YouTube video of her painting, just saying, oh, this is such a beautiful painting. And in the background was low jazz playing. I mean, I didn't even know it was playing. And I posted it to YouTube, and they rejected it. Mm-hmm. Background music, not, in copyright. Yeah. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about the music. So anything outside of the system of the radio, it's best to only use permission-based content. And the way I have a number of musician friends like Walter Parks and David Lamont, David Wilcox. I have music from all of those musicians, and I say, can I have this, and do I have permission to play it on air? And they say, yes, you do. But even that might get bumped if you throw it up on Facebook, because the bots don't know that.
Right. And it's all bot related. So, It's not a real person. You can contest it, and you could have David Lamont's manager and the producer verifying, but that's going to take a while, and then that's going to interrupt your show.
Yeah, or you can do what I do. I play a really terrible guitar, and I make up all the songs myself, and there's not a bot on earth that's ever going to stop me.
Exactly.
Well, I'm gonna have to run. Okay. Thank you so much. Very helpful.
All right, and so this will be available. And Sebastian, if you need any help doing this, let us know, and we'll all work together to get everything uploaded. But your show is great, and it really needs to be shared.
Well, thank you. It's exciting, and I'm looking forward to doing this with you guys all. It's going to be good.
Okay.
Thanks,
Sebastian.
Bye, Sebastian.
So I have two questions. First of all, has this been recorded, Daveen?
This is recorded. We're recording it, and it's going to go up on our producer's page.
So I'll be able to go back and review this.
Yeah, since you've been gone for a while, we have a producer's page now that has videos of all the different procedures, and you'll be able to access this video that we're doing today.
So the other thing is, of course, you just invited me to come back, and I've decided to come back and do a show again. And my thinking was, as you and I talked, Daveen, is that I would take these interviews that I'm doing with people and put them up on YouTube. So this is how I imagine this, is that I have an intro with some music that I say, this is WPVM, do the ID. And then if I'm aware that any of these other stations that picked us up, then I could give a shout out to them. And I'd say we're about to begin the show. And well, what I would do is then do the interview. And at the end, I would have some music to take us out. And I would make sure that it's just under 30 minutes. Now, my idea is to go back and edit out the intro and the outro. Is outro a word?
Mm-hmm.
It is now. And basically just take the content of the interview and then upload it onto YouTube. And that way, the music that I'm using, I won't run into a problem putting it up on YouTube.
Well, or you could also, like Hank did, his wife recorded music for him, and it's not covered by some national or international copyright. So if you get some local musician, and I know you have local musician friends, if you get them to do something that will be your theme song, you're welcome to do that.
Well, I'm just thinking if I chop out the intro and the outro and just take the heart of the interview, which is, let's say it's 23 minutes or something, and edit it. And by the way, I need to get software for editing. And thanks for your feedback, Hank. But I got to come up with something that I can just chop that and move it over, because the idea is the content that's going to be up on YouTube is not going to have the WPVM station IDs and the music and all that stuff. It's just going to be me and the person that I'm interviewing. And of course, I'm going to do it on Zoom. So I'll have the audio and the visual to move over. Does that sound like a workable?
And it's not, once you get the hang of cutting something out, it's not that big of a deal, as long as you don't really separate your audio from your video so you're out of sync.
Yeah.
And
I'll just have to figure that out.
Sometimes they're a little out of sync anyway, it depends, because the USB microphone has a little bit of latency with the picture, but it's still acceptable. But Eddie, as far as an app for you, I think that on a PC, which you're using, you could probably get a 30-day free trial of something called Camtasia. And in that 30 days, you'll be able to tell if that's going to work for you or not. Camtasia, I believe they still do give a 30-day free trial.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and Audacity is free, and Audacity will do basic editing that you're going to want to do. Nave uses Audacity to tighten up his.
I use Hindenburg Journalist to edit, and then I switch it over to Audacity and do an equalization and then a compression.
But so Eddie's speaking of video editing, and Audacity is really an audio editing.
Right, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. So so if you're doing video editing, I'm sure I'm not familiar with that much with PC video editing, but it's not rocket science.
What my idea is, I would do an interview, like let's say I'm doing it with you, James. So we do I forget, it's not shared screen. There's a different term on Zoom. I can never remember what it's called.
Speaker view.
Huh? Speaker view is what we're using right now, I think.
No, it's something else. I just can't remember. But anyway, we would do the interview, and you're on the screen, and I'm in the screen. And so I record it. And then I send the file to the Dropbox for Devine, and she just takes the audio, and that's what goes out over the air.
No, you actually have to convert, before you send it to Devine, you have to convert it to an MP3 file, and that's easy enough to do. Chances are, if you do hook into an app like Camtasia, they'll be able to do it directly.
So that's the idea.
Yeah, me being Mac-based, I use iMovie, and it just makes it right into an MP3. Otherwise, Blaine showed me there is an online converter that you can use that's free to take your file from and turn it into an MP3.
Well, I just got to figure that out. And then, so the audio goes out. And what I'll do is I'll put music at the front and the back end with the IDs and all that. But I still take that interview, and that's going to go up on my YouTube channel to add more content.
Just a thought in terms of promoting WPVM. When I repurpose my shows to go up onto my SoundCloud, I often will take out all of the stuff about support the radio station, et cetera, And I will add, welcome to Twice 5 Miles. You know, I'm your host, James Nave. This show was first aired on WPVM FM 103.7 out of Asheville, WPVMFM.org. And then I move on. And the reason I do that is because there's a magic in saying that it was originally aired on an FM radio station.
All right.
So there's a lot of credibility in that. And then it also promotes, and I give the website so people can check out WPVM FM. And it's just there's something really interesting when you say, I'd like to do an interview with you. And we broadcast once a week on a WPVM FM out of Asheville, North Carolina. They go, yeah, when can I be on?
Well, thank you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't mean to be abrupt, but I need to leave because I'm actually teaching a class in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Better
Bye,
go.
Eddie.
See y'all. Thank you.
Let us know if you have any more questions.
I will. Thank you.
All right.
Than's, Eddie.
Bye. Bye. See you.
Adios. Yeah.
Yeah, to top off what Nave just said, there's a cachet from being from Asheville because, you know,
Right.
there's been so much hype about Asheville being such a great place from the Tourism Development Authority all over the country, and they had all those billions and billions of dollars to tell people how fabulous we are. So everybody thinks we're just absolutely fabulous. And so, yeah, God, you've got a radio station in Asheville. So
That's true.
it's got some cachet to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, I appreciate you saying that, Devine, because since I'm an Asheville native, I don't think about that cachet. I'm thinking more like, oh, we have to promote WPVM FM, but you are absolutely right. I've traveled, I don't travel much now, but I've traveled considerably around the world, and people often, surprisingly, will know about Asheville in odd places.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really do. So.
So it's the stupefying beauty of the area, for one thing.
No, it's true.
And the great food. So, yeah, it's a great place.
Might as well let all that branding work for us.
Yeah. So thank you all for attending. Thank you for doing the great shows that you're doing. We're privileged to have you with us, and we want to help you get your show out to other people. And so that's why I'm doing this. And I want you to go forth and thrive.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
So as I said, this will be recorded, so it's going to be on the producer page. Bye, Steve.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, everybody. It's good to see all of you.
All right.
Bye.
Good weekend.
Yes.
Bye-bye.